Thanks for joining the Soarcast, where we talk about drones, manned aircraft, and satellites, and how they relate to geospatial products found on the Soar platform.
Welcome everyone. This is Darren Smith with the Soarcast episode number 4. And today we're interviewing Ed Ricker, who is, among many things, a YouTuber, cinematographer, and drone pilot. And Ed has quite an interesting history. We're going to touch on some of those things. So let's all welcome Ed to the Soarcast. Welcome, Ed.
Hey, well, thank you for having me. This is awesome to be here. Thank you for being flexible with getting me on, and looking forward to talking with you for the next couple minutes.
Sounds good, Ed. Yeah. Maybe a little bit of a background of how we found you and why we think that the Soar users and Soar audience would be keen to hear about your experience. And it's quite interesting. You're on YouTube, and I might actually pull up some of your stats just while I'm looking at them. You've been on YouTube since, even back since 2013. 12.1 was your first YouTube video back in 2013. I won't go into the details of the early days, but it's interesting to go into that because really we're part of the, as I mentioned when we were sort of not recording. Everyone who watches your videos has been sort of part of the journey, and they see how you got into drones and how you've made more use of them over time and integrated image software so that you can manipulate images, and a big part of it's a big part of your life, I guess, because that is your bread and butter. So we might just start off with a general question. How did you get started on YouTube? What was the motivation?
I was really interested in a lot of the, at the time, popular YouTubers like Casey Neistat and some of the other people on YouTube that, incidentally used drones quite a bit in some of their videos. I mean, I think what really got me interested was watching Casey Neistat pull out his Phantom 4. And I think before that he might have been using other drones too. But when he first started flying the Phantom 4, it's New York City. It's going to be epic shots and epic footage regardless. It just really intrigued me. And I didn't get a drone right away, but I was doing some YouTube work, just vlogging and making daily stuff like that, and some reviews of cameras and other stuff. And by the way, my first video on YouTube was in 2007. Actually, it might even been earlier. Another name, another channel. It wasn't really trying to grow it early. It was a Star Wars themed video. It's fun. But anyway, when I really actually started trying to grow YouTube, it was like early 2016, February. And so camera tutorial that I made, and later on in, I think, February, March, got some views, got some interest, and I thought, okay, well, maybe if I make tech reviews, maybe that's one way to grow the channel. And then when I got the drone, I thought, as soon as I get a drone, I'm going to do a review of it. So I did a review of the Mavic Pro and instantly found my niche, and I've been doing a loosely drone-themed channel ever since. I do some other stuff. Not everything is drone-related. I put out a 3D printing video just yesterday, but actually it was today. But just always drone kind of is an underlying element within most of my videos, and I really enjoy flying them of all types. So that's pretty much where I'm at today, is looking for the next best thing and seeing what's on the horizon that I can get my hands on next.
Yeah, cool. Thanks for sharing that. And I, as you mentioned, I was going through just the number of views that you've had over the years, and fairly, I guess, on that particular channel, they're steady. And then there's that. I'm just going to summarize the video. It was setting up your Mavic Pro, and it was like things blew up. I don't know. I asked somebody once, how does it feel to be famous? And he was a very tech sort of serious guy. And I think he thought I was sort of taking a bit of a dig at him, but I wasn't. I was just curious. He basically does really technical stuff about drones and map making, and so it was quite interesting to me. And you don't realize that people sort of, I mean, maybe you do. People kind of sit there and they're saying, when's the next update? When's the next video? So I'm going to ask you, what was that like, just emotionally? What was that like to suddenly get 3.7 million views on a video?
Well, I mean, it was always a climb, so it was a gradual. So that video didn't get 3.7 overnight. I mean, we're talking 2.5 years now, but it's pretty cool to make something and to occasionally meet someone. If I'm at the field, or at the lake flying a drone, and I might bump into someone else flying a drone, they may have actually seen my video, and I think that's really cool. I'm glad to be able to help people, and I get emails from people and messages, and Instagram or wherever, and they'll be asking questions, or maybe they'll just express their appreciation for the fact that I put some time and effort into trying to help them already, And so hopefully these videos will stay relevant for a while. Of course, the Mavic Pro, who knows how long that one's going on, but the Mavic line is strong, I believe. So I'm looking forward to continuing to make videos and helping people out. And, I find no shame in the fact that I can make a video for the Mavic and find some traction, find some success in that regard. So I'm going to continue to make Mavic videos, and I'm happy to do so. I'm looking forward to the next line, hopefully, if something's coming out.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the Mavic Mini?
I heard about that. 4K 30 is the speculation for what the camera can do, and I'm not big for speculation, but I'm hoping that's the truth, because we had the Spark, which was around the same price point, probably around the same size, that could only do 1080. And so now, a couple of years later, I don't know when the Spark came out, mid 2017. So 2 years later, we might have a Mavic Mini that can kind of take the place of that. And I just got a question today from someone asking, what is out now? Is the Spark still a good buy? And I thought, well, if the Mavic Mini shows up with the same price point and better specs, let's just wait a little bit and see,
Yeah, I hear you on that. All right, so we might go into a little bit into the weeds for I don't know, just sort of general advice. And I think you've been there, you've done that, and you've spoken to a lot of people. And these are sort of quick questions. And people who are new to the game, what do you think? What do you think is a good drone just to get started with, to do a little bit of videography or taking still images?
Well, I think the Mavic 2 Zoom and Pro are both great prosumer drones. They're not great in every single professional application, but to get your feet wet with taking photos, and especially with the Mavic 2 Pro, and if you need to take any nighttime footage or pictures too, the Mavic 2 Pro is pretty much essential. I think you can get some really good quality photos out of there. And using some of the software that's in development and coming out, we can really help to post-process some of those photos. So even if you have a drone, maybe you didn't go for that price point, maybe you went under $1,000 or even under $500, you can take a photo and you can probably get some pretty good results out of it by just doing some simple post-processing.
All right. So what? I think something else for people that are new to flying with drones, and this might be very open-ended, but first shots when you're trying to take images, and what is a good shot that I would say you would like. Say you were training somebody, you took somebody out and they said, give me a few pointers. What's a good shot that gives good results and shows them the capabilities? What would you suggest?
Well, I think you have to take into account altitude and angle and exposure, and there's some other things there, but I mean, how high do you have to be above something to get a good shot? Do you want to see the horizon or not? That rhymed. Certain things like even getting directly overhead images, like pointing directly down, like we see a lot of images on your Soar, database and archives. What exactly are you looking for, and what are you trying to achieve? If it's inspection, that's going to be a little different than being, some more of creative, where inspection might be more cut and dry of the shots that you need to get. Whereas if you're trying to be creative, you can have a little more wiggle room. Motion is also a big thing. So, I mean, if you're doing videos, you can apply motion and add motion. But if you're trying to do stills, that angle, I think, is a little more important, because, you look at video, a lot more things, a lot more mistakes, or just things you didn't think about can slide because it's a video. It's moving. Whereas a picture, that's a slice of time that is kind of cut in stone, and everyone's going to be critiquing everything that you included or didn't include, or how you shot it. So that's, I think, the difference between photo and video. But it's the altitude, it's exposure. So what do you want to expose for? What's your priority? Do you want to expose for the sky so that you see clouds, but maybe the ground is going to be a little bit darker? Or do you want to expose for the building that is really dark, and you want to make sure you see all the windows and the corners and the shadows and the features, but you don't mind that the sky is completely overblown? Is there a way for you to get the best of both worlds and maybe take two photos and mesh them together in editing? So these are different things that you can think about, and different techniques to get the shot that you want, or that your client wants, if that's the case.
That's actually a really good, just on those last two words that you said, what the client wants. I guess that's three, but that is something that I've heard from others. Say you're kind of endeavoring into making a hobby business out of this, or developing a business, and put yourself in the place of the client and perhaps what they want. Mm-hmm. So I think I follow various people on Instagram and look at their drone pics, and what is there is quite appealing. You figure that'd be a great backdrop on your desktop, or even put up in your lounge room.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, it may not be an image that pays in that. How is somebody going to use, let's say, a field of that's a picture of pretty wildflowers or something like that? Is it fair to say that sometimes the boring shots are what the client wants?
Yeah, and sometimes the client wants something that you don't really like either, not just because it's boring, but because that's really bad composition, or I really don't like the lighting in that shot, but they needed it, and that's what they need. If you want to take your own shots on your own time, fine, but there have been some times, and as a videographer as well, that there have been some times where I made videos where I just wasn't really happy with, but it's because that's what they ordered. So, not everyone likes anchovies on their pizza or whatever. So you got to give what the customer wants, and that's it.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I wanted to speak a little bit about give our audience a little bit more information about sort of what you're doing and why you're giving sort of these answers to give them an insight to your perspective. So tell us a little bit about what you do day in and day out. What is your business, more or less?
Well, I own a business called Sandhills Videography. It's more of a freelance video production business, and I do a lot of different types of videos, business promotion. I do live events, I do weddings, and between those three things, it really keeps me pretty busy. So with YouTube, I'm able to use the same software, the same type of cameras, the same types of drones, and it kind of makes a seamless transition from a YouTube video to freelance video production for a client, going back and forth. And occasionally there's even a project where I can take a vlogging camera along and show the process to my viewers. I haven't done that recently, but I have done that in the past, and people have expressed some interest for me to do that again, so I may. But but those two things are pretty much what I do throughout the year. And as YouTube becomes a little more prevalent around the end of the year, around Christmas time, I'm hitting that hard, whereas freelance videography kind of slows down toward the end of the year, and especially into January and February. So I'm glad that I have those two avenues of work that I can to do as the year progresses and kind of environments change for those.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. One quick question: what type of work were you doing before you went independent? Was it videography?
I was the videographer for a university, University of North Carolina at Pembroke. And so I was in charge of their video marketing within their communications and marketing department. And it was interesting, being the only videographer for a university, almost 7,000 students, I was popping around quite a bit. Now, there was a sports videographer too, so I didn't do much sports, but if there was any academic need or any department that needed a promo for their videos or any live events that needed coverage for a highlight reel for Facebook, I was there. So, yeah, I mean, there were some days where I remember on my calendar having 9 or 10 different locations and video shoots in one day. 8 a.m. be at the ball field. At 9 o'clock we got to do this. At 10:30 we're taking shots with the chancellor, video shots I should say. And then 11 we're back over here for So yeah, there were some days where it was absolutely crazy. But again, as videography is, that's an ebb and flow. And so during the summer it was dead, and I relaxed during the summer.
Okay, well, this is coming to the second part of our Soarcast, and we do this every time. We do a little bit of, we call them non-serious questions. So there's, like they told you when you were a student, there's no such thing as a bad answer.
Okay.
And I thought I would do this.
Well, there's not a bad question. There may be some bad answers, but we'll see. We'll see what comes out of my mouth.
Yeah. It's it's basically the first thing that comes to mind. My list is actually a bit shorter than normally I do it, but sometimes it works and it gives people a bit of gives them a chance to think. We also do a bit of trivia. So we give a prize out. We put these up, and if somebody can respond right away and say this is the answer to that question, then of course they win the prize. So
nice.
Yeah,
awesome.
Moving ahead. Okay, so basically I call it this or that, and I'm going to throw two things out there. Generally two words, two nouns, I guess, and you just pick the first one that comes to your mind. So first one is
that I would prefer. Okay, well, go ahead.
Yeah, that you would prefer.
Okay.
So or the first one, just if there were two things on the table and you had to grab one, which one would you grab? That might be a good, better explanation.
Got it.
Okay, so power aid or power cord?
Power cord. Yeah, I got like 4 guitars over here, so power cord all day and all night.
Okay, Metallica or Megadeth?
Megadeth, because they're not on the radio so much. Metallica, should I be keeping these answers shorter, by the way?
No, it's good.
I was going to say, I'm listening to Sirius XM, and sometimes Metallica's on 37 and 38 and like 56, and I'm like, that's too much Metallica. No, so Megadeth.
Okay, very good. Well, I agree. I would agree with you. Can you tell me how many total... so not a this or that. Can you estimate or tell me... I'll rephrase that question. Which YouTube channel, as of last week, had 14,481,263 views?
Oh, views
Yes,
over the course of all their videos. So 14 million?
Yes.
I mean, that sounds similar to mine, but I'm not entirely sure. So I don't know. It could be Ken Herron's. How about let's say Ken Herron?
It is a trick question, Ed. Sorry. It's you.
Okay. Is it me? Okay. I wasn't sure. Okay. Well, Ken Herron would have been a good second choice.
Would have been a good.
Okay.
Yeah. Fair enough. Okay. I know you skateboard, so longboard or freestyle?
Longboard,
Okay.
because I don't bust my elbows up quite so much. I still do, but not quite so much.
Okay. Scorsese or Spielberg?
Scorsese.
Basketball, football, or foosball?
Basketball. No. Foosball is the table thing, right?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. Now that I'm 30, foosball.
Okay, very good. Being from North Carolina, though, that's basketball country, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, yeah. You got Duke and NC State and all that, but I don't watch it. I really don't. I don't care.
Enough. The last one: Crack of Dawn or Crack of Midnight?
Are these movies?
Oh no.
Oh no, these are like time of day.
Time of day, yeah.
Okay. Crack of midnight, because I am a night owl, and if you get me up at the crack of dawn, it's only because I'm being forced to.
Okay. All good. Well, that's all the time we have for the non-serious questions. And from Soar, thanks a lot, Ed, for your time. And it's been great having you. And we look forward to your next YouTube video.
Hey, well, thanks for having me, and I wish you well, and until next time.
Okay, great. Thanks, Ed.
Take care.
Take care.